welcome to the Infinity Bros podcast, the only podcast that is perfectly balanced as all things should be. My name is Isaac Edlund. I am your host tonight, and we have one other very special Infinity Bro with me. It is Mark Jones.
I'm here. I'm back. Old reliable.
Good old Marky Mark in the funky bunch.
Every Infinity Bro has a red phone that they pick up, and it's I'm already on it. Like, yep,
it's like under a glass case, like in each of our houses. And whenever we need you, we just go down to the red phone, and Mark always answers. Single
always
time.
There, day or night, rain or shine.
Old reliable Mark Jones.
Back.
He's back, ladies and gentlemen. And we are here to talk about Star Wars, Andor, and Tales of the Jedi. Some fantastic content that we are very excited to talk about. But if you're new here, thank you so much for checking us out. You can find the Infinity Bros on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, all the things, and theinfinitybros.com for all your Infinity Bros needs. We have some sick merch that you can go pick up. You'll find beautiful looking Zane Ellis, who was supposed to join us tonight, but had some things come up. But you can find him on our store page rocking some of our awesome Infinity Bros merch. So make sure to go check that out. You can also check out Many Worlds Tavern, pretty amazing coffee company that we partner with. You can use the Infinity Bros code to get 10% off your order. And not gonna lie, guys, this coffee is fantastic. I just ordered some new stuff. Electric Sheep, which I have this card here. Actually, I'm kind of showing the YouTube audience here. They give these like game tokens for like magic and stuff like that. You got some too? Yes, kittens, and they're kittens on them. Like Max absolutely adores these things because
I'm not a coffee drinker, but I get it from my dad. And last time I was at my dad's, he's like, "This stuff was good. You should give me more of it." And I was like, "All right,
nice.
I'll get you more."
There you go. Cool. And I just got
coffee.
this. I got this Electric Sheep, which is actually decaf. My wife is 33 weeks pregnant right now, and she has started to like back off of caffeine. So she's like, I kind of think I want some decaf. So I was like, all right, let's check out the decaf. And she says it tastes just as good as their other coffee that we've purchased. So good decaf is good because, I mean, the decaf that I have consumed is most of the time not worth drinking. So
I've never had decaf. But on that note, I also got instant coffee for my father-in-law. He hasn't had it yet. But because he's the instant coffee guy. Because he's like, why wait for coffee when I can just stir it and microwave it? He's one of those guys.
So interesting.
Like, yep.
So interesting to me.
And it has to be perfect. I remember when we were there when Maggie was born we were there for like a month, and then we had storms, like really couldn't come back home. He would like when he would hold her, I'd go make him coffee, and like I sometimes wouldn't do it right, and he was always nice. He's like,
he would pick
give
it out.
Another try. Like literally, like I'm like all I do is pour a spoonful of coffee in a cup. How did I mess that up? Like it was.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. That reminds me of, well, first of all, at work. So I work at a hospital, and we have instant coffee, but it's like they have the big coffee machines, and it's literally like a syrup concentrate that you like put in there, and then like just the hot water dilutes it basically. So it's not good coffee, but like that. And then that always reminds me of church coffee. Like you go into like, some of these, and you know what I'm talking about, Mark, growing up in small town Minnesota, going into these church basements, and they have this piping hot coffee that you cannot drink for like 10 minutes when you pour it.
I know that too well right now.
It's so hot that you literally cannot drink it for at least 10 minutes. And then when you drink it, it's the worst coffee you've ever had in your entire life. It's so bad. It's like brown water. Like every small town church has this, by the way. It's like a thing.
So like the church also has instant coffee too. And I was thinking back to my father-in-law. It's like like yours was a syrup at work.
Mm-hmm.
Both, like, I don't like coffee, and like the instant coffee is like worse than regular coffee. But the instant coffee that they both have, it looks like chew, like
Oh,
like tobacco, like chew.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's like so off-putting. Like mix it, anyways. Yes.
Yeah. Would not be my first choice, but one of my first choices would be Many Worlds Tavern. So make sure you guys check that out. Good stuff, by the way.
And my dad's kind of coffee snob, so it's good coffee. I'm just saying that. I'm just gonna put that out there.
Yeah,
So go
I wouldn't say I'm a coffee snob because I still drink the terrible hospital coffee. Like I'll drink any coffee basically, but I obviously prefer the good stuff, which Many Worlds Tavern has plenty of choices that are the good stuff.
We're getting so off tangent, but about coffee, it's a subject I would care less about. But I'm just thinking about my dad again. Like he's saying, like, oh, you'll drink anything. My dad was also like, yeah, he's a snob. He likes his good coffee, but he has gone to every like fast food place that has coffee, and I know people don't agree with this. He says McDonald's has the best fast food coffee.
Really?
And I think that's
interesting.
wild, but I've heard.
I mean, I actually don't mind McDonald's coffee. Like it's not that bad, but I don't normally get my coffee from fast food places, so I've never tasted a lot of other fast food coffee, I guess.
He'll go in just to get coffee. Like that's how much he likes it. So I think that's wild. And then he becomes like he has to get his coffee in whole beans and grind them. But like, McDonald's is like, it's serviceable.
Okay.
Yep,
all right. And it has the Mark Jones dad stamp of approval. Many Worlds Tavern. Use code the Infinity Bros for 10% off your order. Good stuff. All right, Mark, are you ready to get into Andor and Tales of the Jedi?
I've been waiting to talk about Andor.
Yes.
It doesn't matter. Each one I'm fine with. But like, I don't think I've been on a pod.
I want to talk about Tales of the Jedi first because I feel like we're going to talk about Andor more.
I'm along for the ride. This is
okay.
I caught up on everything because I hadn't watched Tales of the Jedi, which I finished in a day because I didn't know. Okay, we'll go into it.
It's short. It's short. Yeah. It's good stuff. Anyways, for those of you guys who are new listeners, we have a special rating system on the Infinity Bros podcast that we want you to be familiar with. So we'll play that bumper right here.
Here on the Infinity Bros podcast, everything is ranked from a 0 to 6 point scale. 0 meaning horrible and 6 meaning absolutely excellent. If all of the Infinity Bros rank something a 6, it gets an Infinity Step.
So guys, Tales of the Jedi is this little short series that came out not too long ago, just like was it last week that it came out? Wednesday, October 26th. Yeah, so it's been a little over a week. But it kind of just snuck up on us, honestly. I feel like we like knew it was coming out, but like I got a reminder like a week before it came out, and I was like, oh, that's coming out next week already.
Yeah, I remember hearing that was going to be a project they were going to do, and then that was the last time I really like paid attention to it. I don't know if they had a trailer. I didn't see it. Like this was like I went into this totally blind to what I was to what I was seeing. So like that I think made it more exciting for me. So
yeah, yep. And so this is a short 6 episode series of shorts. Basically, each of these episodes are around like 10 minutes long. Animated show in the style of kind of Clone Wars Rebels, mostly Clone Wars.
It has Dave Filoni as the creator, so like he definitely was like, let's get the team back together to do the animation.
Let's round up the boys. Let's go round 3 actually, because season 7 of Clone Wars was like last year already,
and Bad
on
Batch
Disney Plus.
Season 2 comes
and
out.
Yeah, gosh, that's coming up too. Oh my gosh, so much Star Wars
I only know
content
that because after I was done finishing this series, it was like Bad Batch comes out January 2023, and I was like, all right, let's buckle up.
Buckle up, guys. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, before we get too deep into it, I do want to say that we are going to be spoiling this entire series. There's not a whole lot of spoilers in this. They're just shorts. They're really fun. They're cool. But if you don't want to be spoiled by them, go ahead and pause this episode. Go watch those episodes. It will only take you a total of like 2 hours, I think, to watch all of the shorts combined. Not even. Yeah, they're like 10 minutes a piece or 6 of them, like a little over an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. So go watch those quick and then come back and listen to our review. Yeah, totally worth it.
I was about to go into a review because I'm so like I'm excited.
Yeah. So anyways, here is our spoiler warning.
This is
Prepare yourself.
an Infinity Bros.
Prepare yourself.
Spoiler. Warning.
All right, guys, Tales of the Jedi. Mark, I'm just going to give you the floor. What did you think of this show? And do you want more of it?
To quick recap it, if they're doing this with like main characters, with like filler, filler is a bad word, but basically like giving you like, hey, here's what happens between episodes, or even pre-episode 1, like stories, love it. To me, it's like, if you're doing this, give me, it can even be this short, 6 episodes of 20 minutes of Shadows of the Empire. Do that for me, please. Dave Filoni, go do it.
Oh my gosh.
A Shadows of the Empire, it can be a mini series, it can be animated, I don't care. It doesn't have to be live action.
Gosh, Mark.
Shadows of the Empire is my favorite like Star Wars lore, and I want more of it because it also ties into like even Andor. You can do a show without a Jedi in the Star Wars world, and it still works. And if you do it right, it's amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Andor has shown us that you don't need lightsabers. You don't need blasters. You don't need the Force. You don't need any of that stuff to create a good story. So that would be...
We'll come back to that. I have some more comments on that, what you just said. But back to Tales of the Jedi. So I came into this basically not knowing what was going to be told. Tales of the Jedi, I'm assuming every episode has a Jedi. And the first episode was like a good like starter off, like what you're kind of expecting. It really wasn't, again, like a ton of action. It was like the Ahsoka story, right? Like that's, that was the first episode if I'm remembering. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's the Ahsoka as a baby.
It kind of seemed like, I was like, and then the next few episodes, like, is this like the Dooku story? And they just like backdooring, like this is how Dooku became Dooku.
The Dooku episodes are fantastic. Those are they're so good. But so
like, overall, I would give this a 6 out of 6. It was short, sweet, to the point. It was concise and told a gripping, like some of those had gripping stories, like the second episode where it's like young Qui-Gon Jinn and Master Dooku going to that planet to like save the senator's son, and then figuring out the senator is like being bad to the people, and the senator's son figures it out, and basically you kind of like get the glimpse like Dooku is kind of a bad, well, we know he's a bad guy, but like, he did some bad stuff, and then
but you get to see like the humanity that you don't see in the full episodes of like when he was a Jedi and he's seeing both sides, right?
Yes. You see it through the story from each like the episodes, like how he kind of does turn to that. Like he was already probably on the brink, but then like he sees how people are being treated, how people think of the Jedi. And then my favorite episode would probably be the one with him and Yaddle, because I didn't know what happens to Yaddle. Oh, we put a spoiler warning. He basically fights Yaddle and defeats her. So like the other version, like the female version of Yoda. So
I was intrigued that they let her have lines, and that it wasn't like Yoda's lines, like all backwards grammarly. Like that's not a race thing. That's just a Yoda thing. Like Yoda is the only one that does that.
Weird.
He's just a weird dude.
Which was probably I wonder if that like in the writer's room was that like pitched like we're just gonna do her normal, or someone's like, hey, you know what? Let's be like Yoda's actually a little eccentric and he's weird with his.
He's just a weird dude. Yeah, exactly.
But initially, I thought that was like Yoda with hair, like more hair. I was like, oh, that's weird. Like, how old is this?
Yeah, this is way back in the day when he had a full head of hair. Also, we knew this prior to when episode 1 when we all found out about Yaddle. But like, is Yoda just a bald guy in his race too? Like maybe other, or
he's very much more older than Yaddle, and he's just lost his.
That could be old too. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, exactly. I mean, we know that Yoda is like. I think he's like 800 and 900 years old in the events of so like the
old. They can tell stories of him in his 300s that would be gripping, but then we don't know how he ages though, because like Grogu is like 50 or 70 something and still a baby,
right? And he's still like a baby looking thing, so yeah, who knows. But anyways, yeah, I'm on the same page as you, Mark. I thought these were absolutely fantastic, exactly what I was hoping for with this, and we didn't get a whole lot of information about these before they came out. Basically they're just like, they're short stories of Star Wars, pretty much is what they said, and we're like, oh, okay, cool. But I would give this a 6 out of 6 because these are so, I don't know, Mark, do you remember back in the day they used to have these like Star Wars encyclopedias of like just random crap facts about like the movies and stuff like that. Like just stuff you absolutely did not need to know about the Star Wars universe. Like I remember pouring through those things and being like, this is the best. I'm getting all this information that was not, told to us in the movies. Like this is exactly that, but in movie form and way better. Like these are each little stories that are fantastic, by the way. Like all of these episodes are great storytelling. They do an incredible job of like making us care about each of these characters in the very short time that we have with them. But
to go into the posse there where you said like random books that just fillers of like so much like useless,
right,
in quotations, useless knowledge. I remember seeing a book, and I wish I would have purchased it. It was a few years ago. That it was like a Star Wars book of like topography and geography, like map stuff. And I was like, I love that. I love that kind of stuff. And I was like, I should have purchased it when I saw it. And I feel
like such a nerd when I talk about stuff like that, but like I love it so much. It's so great.
I'm with you. I'm piggybacking on you with like that type of just like, the useless knowledge of Star Wars or any fandom really. But that's like, that's why we love it. And that's what this show is about. It's like, it's these like in between. That's why people love Rogue One, because it ties episode 3 and episode 4 to like how that stuff happened, or like, 50 years of like who got the plans, like what were the people that went through all that trouble to get the Death Star plans, and we get to see it. And I think that also what ties. Oh, I was going to go into Andor. We're not there yet.
Not there yet.
But
just
like
hold
the
on.
show is just like, and then the final episode where it's like Ahsoka, joining the rebellion basically and defeating the Inquisitor. Which initially when I saw the screenshot of it, I was like, are they doing like a Darth Revan thing? Which then ties in, like, if they can do do this, they can do Darth Revan stuff, which I think they might be doing something in that world. But like,
I can see that.
Doing these shorts, I think they're going to find out this is like just enough content where like they could probably keep doing it, and people are going to love it.
Absolutely. So. And you hit the nail on the head here. Like, okay, so Dooku specifically, this is an area of prequel Star Wars that has been long criticized as like, Dooku, like, where the heck did he come from? What is his backstory? Like, why? Like, what is it about Dooku? And we don't get much information about him in the prequels. They do that on purpose to keep him like a mysterious villain.
If you're a if you're a mega fan, Isaac, you would have read
novels and blah blah.
You would have read Dooku Last Jedi Lost, which I have listened to and get his background. But like,
okay.
Like,
but
all
anyways,
the information is basically out there.
It's there. You just have to go find it.
I want to know Dooku's background. You're like, I'm not reading a 500-page book. Screw that. I'm not listening to 9 hours of Audible. Screw that. Like, it's all out there. I get you. Like, we are definitely in a society where, we live in a society.
We live in a society, exactly.
Where, like, our content has to be given to us basically through imagery and
spoon feed us through easy things to consume.
I always I go back to like, if they can do Tales of the Jedi, you just take all the books. You literally have years of content just doing those books in 6-episode short stories.
Yep. And I'm getting to that.
And Disney would just make. Here I am making another pitch to make Disney even billions of more dollars. Do you just see the billions like fly over there?
Yeah, exactly. You're commanding them as you're waving your hands around with the Force.
So many of those books from the 90s and like 80s and early thousands where it's like, none of it's really canon anymore, but like you literally could do that stuff. And these like Star Wars fans that hate the new stuff are going to come back and like, well, I got to go check it out. And they're going to go check it out and they're probably going to love it, even though they'll be online, like, eating their waffle syrups and, talking stuff about it. So,
Yeah. Yep. So anyways, as I was saying, Dooku,
I'm sorry.
You totally derailed me, but that's totally fine. I absolutely agree with everything that you just said. But anyways, Dooku is this mysterious figure that like the casual fan that has not read the 80s and 90s novels and backstories and everything, which they wouldn't be 80s and 90s because obviously he's a character from the prequels.
Dooku
but
Lost Jedi is a newer book, so
okay, good. Thank you, Mark, for the clarification. But anyways, us casual fans, we're like watching these like this is a whole backstory in three. He's in 3 episodes. Like,
why does he have the name count?
Yeah. Why? That's another interesting point. There. But anyways, like this is just fantastic content, and this is okay. this is where we're heading. And you already mentioned this multiple times. The floodgates have opened with this series to the Star Wars universe. They can literally do anything with these shorts, and I will watch them. And I absolutely will be 100% down with anything that they do. They can take some of this extended universe stuff, make it canon. I mean, technically, a lot of that stuff is not canon as Disney would say it, but they can. A lot of that stuff is not necessarily antithetical to what is canon now. So they can make that stuff canon. Yeah, exactly. So like in my eyes, this series opens the floodgates. Like they can do anything they want with the Star Wars universe with these little shorts and Tales of the Jedi. I think this is fantastic. 6 out of 6. The only thing that I was like a little peeved at was that last episode that you mentioned, this Inquisitor has like this Darth Revan looking mask, right? Like, and it looks epic. It looks awesome. I
thought it was going to be him because I was like, that looks beat up.
Right. It looks awesome.
Story. I was like, let's buckle up.
And when he whips out his lightsaber, I immediately saw that it had the curved handle. It was an Inquisitor lightsaber. And I was like, shoot. I was a little bummed by that, but still, this dude looks awesome. He looks super BA. Like this is going to be an awesome episode. And then Ahsoka just chops his head off, and it's like okay, like this dude looked like he could be a really cool character, and now he's just dead.
So this has got to be post episode 3, obviously. Mm-hmm. So Inquisitor, and then they have Inquisitors. So like, are we assuming like, is this Inquisitor a former Jedi that was, if you think of like the Force Unleashed games, was he, manipulated through like robotics to be like controlled by the Empire? Or was it like a newbie that has been recruited? So like he just looks badass, but like to normal people, he's like a monster. But to someone that's experienced as Ahsoka,
to somebody who actually has the Force, and that definitely could be, and that's a good logical explanation for it.
The Obi-Wan show where like Obi-Wan goes up against some of the Inquisitors, it's like, they're not matched to him. Yeah. Especially the younger one. So it's like, it is what it is.
True. Yeah. But I mean, I
agree with you. It's like,
I was like bummed because exactly. I was bummed because I liked this character. Yeah. And then all of a sudden she just chops his head off, and I was like, "Oh, okay. I guess we're not going with this guy. We're gonna roll with somebody else."
How experienced and powerful Ahsoka is. I think that's true. What it really shows.
And that does like make sense. And I still love that episode because I mean the turning point. You can see the turning point in her mind that she's like, "Okay, I do actually need to help the resistance or the rebel, whatever they were called at the time. Like I need to like." Get into this and I need to like help this along. So that was really cool to like see her change. But again, every single one of these shorts is just, it's very well done. The storytelling is fantastic. Obviously the animation is incredible, like along the same lines as the Clone Wars TV series. And especially this last season, the Clone Wars season 7 that dropped last year, like great animation. So man, I'm so excited about this, and I really, really, really hope they keep going with it because, man, they can do anything they want.
I mean, yeah, exactly. It's like Dave Filoni is such a fan, and I love seeing the meme where it's like Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, like writing the stories for Star Wars. It's like two little kids playing with Star Wars toys because they love this stuff so much. Yeah, that's what makes it so. What they've done is made so good is because they are true fans and they want to be true to source material versus like, when you go to like, the Marvel movies and shows, it kind of teeters a little bit because it's like, there's so much stories and different like storylines that like, that's what happens versus Star Wars. It's like, you can't really do that to Star Wars fans as much because Star Wars fans are typically the worst fans amongst each other. So,
yeah, I mean, they still have, in my opinion, Star Wars fans still take the cake for the worst fandom. MCU fans are really barking up their heels at this point, but I think Star Wars fans are still.
But see, what I agree with you because a lot of MCU fans are more new since 2008, since like the movie started getting big.
That's true.
So like, there's more modern people versus like Star Wars. It really got big in the 70s. So you have all these like boomers,
old people, right,
and young Gen X people who like are so passionate about the first 3 episodes,
right?
That like there shouldn't be like there's people that say there shouldn't be anything more beyond that. And it's like,
right? Yeah,
that was
they're
never
like
George Lucas's vision,
right?
And because of those fans is why George Lucas sold the franchise.
True.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
They beat him down to nothing, and he just gave up on it at some point. And I don't know. Since that point, Mark, do you think we're going in a good direction of Star Wars in general?
I would say, I shouldn't say as long as Dave Filoni will be in good hands, because I'm sure they'll replace. If he eventually he'll probably retire when he's in his hundreds.
Someday. I mean, like,
I just feel like,
I hope he's in his 80s when he does. But
I would say, I think yes, if they let people like be able to work without restrictions in this world, and then like people who are passionate for the characters, just like in any IP out there, I think they'll do good, and I think they'll have success, and I hope there is more. I hope there is continued. I love Star Wars. I'm a guy who's like, give me anything Star Wars, I'm gonna love it. Yeah, and I've yet to be disappointed. So I hope we get more.
I mean, yeah, exactly. And they're showing with this series and with Andor that you can do so much more with Star Wars than just a cool sci-fi action series. So there it is. There's our transition into Andor.
Look, I get it. You're lazy, and coffee from the grocery store is just as good as ordering from somewhere like Mini World's Tavern, right? Wrong! That's dumb, and you should feel so dumb for thinking that. Does your local grocery store donate a portion of their proceeds to charity? Actually, if they do that, that is kind of awesome. But we guarantee that Mini World's Tavern does that. Besides, it's not like your grocery store provides an amazing monthly blend with added RPG-themed bonuses. That's a limited edition Mini World's Tavern exclusive, baby. They are the online coffee brand that's perfect for game night. Guys, I should know. Before every podcast and every time I go live on Twitch, I fill an entire bathtub full of Great Old One, and I do my best Lord Harkonnen impression. Guys, grab a bag for yourself right now. Go to www.miniworldstavern.com/theinfinitybros, all one word. And guess what? You're going to save yourself 10% at checkout.
Prequel series to Star Wars Rogue One. In an era filled with danger, deception, and intrigue, Cassian will embark on the path that is destined to turn him into a rebel hero. Series that is currently running on Disney Plus. I believe there is 12 episodes in this season, and we just hit episode 9 with this week.
So because I'm so used to Marvel's shows only being 6 episodes, I got this episode 6, like, oh, that's weird how they ended it like that, and like went 2 weeks without realizing there's more episodes.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And this is really a break from Disney Plus's kind of like formula that they've been doing TV shows with, because Obi-Wan was 9 episodes.
I thought it was only 6.
I remember. Was it only? No, you might be right. It was only 6.
I'll look it up.
But like they've been doing these shorter series, especially with the Marvel shows. They did the 6 kind of mini series format. A lot of people, including us, have been 6 episodes. A lot of people, including us, have been very critical of that format. They did it, the 6 episodes with Obi-Wan, and don't get me wrong, Obi-Wan is a great show. Like, absolutely loved it.
Agree. I think if you're gonna do 6, if you're gonna call it a 6-episode miniseries or whatever, do an hour-long episodes. Like, give us more meat to the subject.
Yes. And I will say, I think I liked Obi-Wan as a miniseries, as a 6-episode series, more than any of the Marvel miniseries or 6-episode series.
Even
so.
Loki?
That one, it's up there.
Blasphemous on the podcast.
Oh boy, that's close actually.
Luckily, WandaVision has 9 episodes. That's why it's so good.
That one doesn't. I wouldn't even put WandaVision up there, so that doesn't. I think I would. It's up there. I actually put on my list of Marvel shows. Loki is my number 2. Moon Knight was number one for me.
See, and I think Moon Knight would have been better off if it was an hour long. You could have given more
Yes,
context to
it could have been much better, but that just goes to show, like, all of these series, including Loki, I think, could have been a lot better if they had not stuck with this 6-episode, 40-minute formula, like, if that even, for a lot of these shows.
40 minutes, but actually 10 minutes of
but 10 minutes of it is credits. Yeah. Man, a lot of people have been, including us again, have been very critical of this 6-episode formula. Andor, they come out,
breaks away from
it in so many ways. Number one, they announce immediately when they announce the show, they're like 12 episodes. They already greenlit season 2 a long time ago. I don't know how long ago it was. There's a season 2.
The actor said he was done with it, unless he meant like done with the character once.
They already greenlit a season 2, and it's already showing up at IMDb right now. So I don't know exactly the details on season 2, but I mean, we're not even through.
You end it with him running into Jyn Erso, right?
Maybe end the show maybe with that. I don't know if you end the season with it. I don't know. Maybe you do.
No, you end this season with it. I mean, the show you'd end it with, like the whole
the show.
Done the wrap it up, you end it with like
exactly. Yeah. And you've got a decent amount, because this show is set 5 years before Rogue One, so you've got a decent amount of time that you can kind of play with here. Just kind of forming the roots of the rebellion, and I think there's a lot of cool things to explore, and we're going to get into it here, but man, it's already done an incredible job of that.
The most fascinating part I found with this show as a whole, and maybe you guys talked about it, right? Because I know you and Jarrett talked about it, right?
Yeah, I think I'm trying to remember. It's been a while. I think the maybe first 2 episodes we reviewed or something.
So the episode where you find out that he's from a planet that had no contact with the outside world, and they live like indigenous people. Mm-hmm. I was just like, that is such a mind-boggling concept of these people not knowing anything about space travel.
Right. Star Wars. A ship crashes on them, and then they basically all get taken and go and live amongst other planets, in a sense. Yeah.
I thought that was and then it tells a whole story, it's basically an immigrant story. And then on top of that, it's then also soul crushing, people because of the Empire's grip on everything. Oh, it's Andor. I know we say it, and we have friends that say it. It is a show that is slept on by many and underappreciated.
Absolutely.
And tells such a gripping story in a Star Wars world without the main players that you would think were needed for a Star Wars
exactly
story.
Okay, coming into the show, let's just rewind it a little bit. Were any of us really excited about the show? Because I can say that I was not. I was like, why do we need this show? This is I didn't even remember casting Andor from Rogue One. I liked Rogue One a lot, but I was like, I don't remember this guy very much. So
besides the Star Wars show, I wanted to see it, but him, I thought it was a little weird that out of all the characters you could choose from to do it just a show solo on, I thought that was kind of weird. But
yeah,
I mean,
just wild.
It's like that in the Chippendales movie. It's did we want it? And then we go watch it. Oh, this is actually what we wanted.
This is actually the best thing I've ever seen.
Congratulations, Disney.
Yeah, that's so true though. But I watched this trailer initially, and I'm like, oh, this actually looks pretty good. I'm more interested now. In the first 2-3 episodes, I was like, this is pretty good. This is good.
this is better
Episode 6. Yeah. Episode 6 hits. And holy crap. Up until that point, episode 6 might be the best single episode of Star Wars TV in history. That's when they finally pull off the heist.
That's right. Okay, yes, that's right. Because that's the episode I thought I was like, oh, this is a cool way to end it. And then I was like, I stopped watching it for 2 weeks, and then I came back.
So they finally pull off this heist, and through I will give them credit. Through the first 5 episodes, it is a little bit slow building, which is fine. I think a lot of people nowadays, and we've talked about it on the show, we've got short attention span. So we're like, oh, action. I need something. I feel
like that's something I've advocated for. It's that's if you do it right, a slow build show but you need longer episodes. You can't do like 6 episodes.
Yeah.
The slow build with a bigger, like there's going to be a big payoff at the end. We're going to get a big payoff.
We've already had huge payoffs, and there's going to be a bigger payoff at the end of the season.
Because
So
that was the little joke in the beginning. It's like, when are they going to finally do this heist? It's like 3 episodes into this heist.
They build this up so much.
Yeah.
And it's so important. Like, I'm like sitting here watching these episodes, and my heart is pounding. Like, I'm like, this is so intense. And it's so weird because like there's nothing really happening at that exact moment. Like there's no battle being fought. There's no lightsabers flashing. There's nobody's getting choked out with the Force or something. Like it's literally just people plotting. There's people like preparing. There's, they're doing all this stuff to get ready for this heist. And it's so engaging and so intense. And I'm like, why is this so interesting right now? Like this is incredible. And then they finally pull off the heist. That was, oh my gosh, that was such an incredible episode. Just like they finally get around to doing it, and maybe the most intense episode I've watched up until that point. But now,
and characters get killed. Things like
characters get killed. Yeah,
unexpected. Like, oh, they're killing that guy. Oh, that guy's getting killed. Like,
oh my gosh, like the one that got me was Nemec, right? So like Nemec is this kind of like naive guy who's got all these like ambitious ideals of like, the rebellion and stuff like that. So we go through this heist, and a couple of their members get killed off. And Nemec is at the end here. They finally are getting out. They don't like some of the like containers of gold or, whatever material it is, don't get secured. Yeah. One slides down and snaps his spine. When that happened, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is brutal.
And I think that's what makes the show so good. Like that episode as a whole.
Yeah.
So good. It's like, we're not like in a fairy land where everything's hunky dory.
No.
Like there are real consequences that these people
are
putting
stakes.
themselves through.
Yeah. These are high stakes.
For the rebellion. And I think that's what the story is telling. It's like there are people being pushed down so hard by the Empire.
Right.
They are willing to do anything. And granted, it's Cassian who's like navigating the plane or the ship. But like, it's like the stakes are so high what they're doing.
Right. And it's so weird because like if you're looking at it at a global or like universal scale,
galactic scale.
I mean, it's galactic scale. It's not really that big. Like it's kind of a big deal, but not really that big. It's kind of started to create a stir, which we see in the next 3 episodes.
Exactly.
The ISB's like investigating it or whatever.
Where that,
but like
the character each figures it out.
Right.
Yeah.
Each individual person in this episode, the stakes are as high as they possibly could be.
Right.
And you see that through each character and how they are acting, how the fantastically acted show, by the way, by all of these actors, Diego Luna leading the way as Cassian Andor. Every single actor in the show has been incredible up to this point. I think this show might honestly be my favorite show of the year by the time it's done.
And I love that in these these post prequel like movies and shows, they've kept everyone with an English accent. Like that's the world we live in.
Yeah.
They're like a lot of like the majority of people who
it's like the common language.
English, where it's like they had, what is it? The episode 8 where Saul Guerrero shows up and he's like the only one, like basically the first person you've heard that doesn't have an English accent.
Right. Well, and it's actually like so Star Wars-y that like all of the uppity high society, high class people, they all have the English accents. And then like Cassian Andor, Saw Gerrera, all these like normal people have like just normal English, not English, like British accents, like English accents. So I was just like, this is fantastic. So anyways, one thing I wanted to point out in that episode too, is that like, first of all, Jarrett and I talked about this in our episode that we reviewed, but episode 1 starts off with Cassian Andor murdering 2 dudes in cold blood, which I did not expect at all. I was like,
I wouldn't say it was necessarily cold blood. He didn't just go out there to kill him, but
well, sure. But like he still did it and it showed it. And it was like, oh,
yeah,
okay.
That set the tone for the series. It did. It did. And then at the end of episode 6,
Cassian Andor, well, it's not even a confrontation right away, but like, what's his name? Shoot, I forget his name. The kind of the guy that Cassian ends up killing.
I forget his name too, but I know what you're talking about. Where he just at the end of that episode, he like knows he's like basically he knows he's gonna betray them, and he just like that one I would say is more motivated. But yeah, that one would be more cold blooded, where he just like without hesitation, just like takes him out.
So like he has this confrontation with Skeen outside the door, and Skeen's like, hey, we should just like steal all the money and run. Like, screw these guys. And Cassian is like, no, just whips out his gun and shoots him. And I was like, what? Like the same feelings that I had in episode 1 repeated here. I was like, I did not expect that. Like it's Star Wars, right? Like you expect all these characters to be like generally good and like, oh yeah, like, oh, we're going to do the right thing in each situation type of thing.
They've made these characters grounded and real. That's
very grounded.
So good.
Yeah, exactly.
And then on top of that, you have all these little subplot stories with like the senator, with the other guy who was part of the other like police force from the other world, who's now are they in Coruscant? But yeah, now like kind of
I believe so.
Last 2 episodes, finally, like because he's made so many reports that the one I forget her name, the lady who's like kind of been figuring out that hey, there's something going on here. There's some rebellion going on here. There's all these like little things that were going off, not being shown. That he kind of gets involved, and then they're finally they actually find out or trying to hunt down Cassian, and he's actually in prison for like basically doing nothing. That's how crazy it gets, where it's like the Empire's now arresting people and doubling their time because of these rebellion situations that are going on. So,
right. Yeah.
So it'd be I can't wait how those stories unfold. Because we know with the senator, nothing bad really happens with her because clearly she still stays a senator. Yeah,
because exactly. And she becomes the face leader of the rebellion, you know, in Rogue One. So we know, obviously, I mean, we know the history or the future of a lot of these characters. Yeah. So we know kind of what happens, but we're learning some of their backstory, which Mon Mothma, I mean, like, to me, when I was watching the old ones as a kid, I didn't even know she had a name.
Yeah.
I thought she was just some random like rebel person that was like there, like doing all the presentations and stuff, you know,
Here's our presenter.
Here's our presenter person. And here we are learning her backstory. And like, she's telling us all these like childhood things. And like, you know, we're seeing the beginning of the rebellion through all these things that she's doing. And it's just like, wow.
And with her story, we're learning that, like, you know, since, you know, the Emperor's gotten more power, that they've, like, you know, her driver, he can't be trusted because, like, the banks can't be trusted because it's new faces. Like, how much just, like, seeding the Empire's doing to, like, have legit full control over everything. Yeah. And every whisper. It's so wild.
Yeah. This is beautifully set up. Beautifully playing out right now. So we're up to episode 9 right now.
Yep.
I'm going to backtrack a little bit. So we're getting like the ISB, you know, investigating all this rebel activity,
getting more money,
getting more involved. Right. They know something's up. Manpower. They're starting to catch a little whiffs of the trail. So we got, gosh, I'm so terrible with all these names of people. But we've got the main ISB
we have
lady.
That lady.
That guy, the main ISB lady who is like kind of investigating. There's Andor, yeah. And then he's the guy I do know.
Human Snoke.
So we've got, gosh, okay, I'm looking them up here. We're gonna go see the cast. We've got this main ISB lady who is like kind of heading up the investigation of all of this rebel activity. And Miro. So she's Admiral Miro, or I don't remember what her title is, but Miro, she's like investigating all of this stuff.
So, and I'm sorry, it made me think, every time I see her as a commander and the rest of the round table being like old men, are they eventually going to tell us like how like the Empire decides to be like, you know what, we're just gonna do only white men as our leaders. Like it's eventually got to be told that like no one, no female, no person of color anymore because we're the Empire, and the Empire can only be human male people.
Right.
And then Thrawn. But he
okay. This I think that's hilarious. But here's actually this series breaks the mold a little bit because we're actually getting like backstory on some of these Empire people.
Yeah.
Like we're getting to know Miro, and obviously she still is like sadistic, like, and she's like using this doctor to like torture people and give information and stuff like that. But we're seeing some glimpses of humanity in some of the things that she's doing.
Sure.
Not enough to make anything, like excusable that she's doing, but
then I think is it the last episode where they decide like, oh, we're gonna go kill a pilot and make it look bad, and that was her suggestion. I'm like, and they're just like, just make sure everything tracks, fine. Don't lead back to you.
Yeah, basically. So, anyways, but it's interesting getting to know the backstory of these people who we all assume are just like basically nameless, faceless Empire people who do the bidding of the main Empire person. Type of thing.
Emperor.
The Emperor, generally. But then also
guy.
On top of that, this last episode, oh my gosh, this was a banger of an episode. Holy crap. Okay, so Cyril Karn, he's like this like random like security officer who gets like caught up in all of this Cassian Andor stuff, and he's like becoming obsessed with this case. All of a sudden turns stalker in this because Miro visits him and is basically like, we know you know about this, like give us all your information. And then she promotes him at his job, and he all of a sudden gets this idea of like, oh, like she's the best thing that's ever happened to me. And
what was it? She put in a good word for him.
Yeah, right. The creepiest Star Wars interaction that exists.
Right?
Like the dude tracks her down to her work,
knows that she's going to be there. Yep.
Knows that she's going to be. He's been watching her. He says to her like, oh, I know like where you go. I know you, or like I know where you're going to be at, like type of thing. Like so stalkery, so creepy. And this guy, so he confronts her. She tries to leave in the middle of his sentence, which I think is the best thing about that whole interaction. She's just like, this dude is nuts, and just like tries to leave, and he just like gets in front of her and stops her. Man, isn't that the craziest stalker / creepy interaction in Star Wars right now?
It would be if she didn't hold so much power. I don't know why that like makes me like feel it less, but like knowing where he's coming from, where he basically like he did overstep when he was back on his old job. I do think that.
Right.
But he was trying to solve
absolutely.
this murder, and it was like had actually good leads, and then just gets like pushed to the side, and then he has to move back in with his mother, and like that interaction is wild too. Like start feeling bad for the guy, and he gets like this obviously crap job, and like I think we're gonna get where like he wants to be part of the Empire and like help the Empire. And I wouldn't be surprised if like he gets that position and learns that like, nope, that's not what I want to be a part of, and becomes part of the rebels. So
really, you think that guy is going to become a rebel?
Maybe. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Like,
that dude is like the biggest. Rebellion is built on hope. That guy is the biggest Empire lapdog I think I've ever seen in my entire life.
Like, I think if they do a good payoff, it wouldn't be surprising if he turns out to be like ends up being a good guy, given different circumstances that might happen.
So Miro
crapping on him.
Miro does something to break his heart. Yep. And that's the turning point for him. He's like, oh, I guess she doesn't love me. Yep. that's the turning point for him.
It's like, are you going to find like a woman to marry or whatever? So it's like, clearly this dude's like in love with her. So
yeah,
I'm just like, and there's only 3 more episodes left. So like,
was that such a weird turn though? Cause like, I was like, when that interaction, like I obviously knew he had some kind of obsession with her, but I thought it was like just related to the case. But when that interaction happens, you're just like, oh my gosh. Okay. Alrighty then. Now we have a true stalker in Star Wars. So here we go. But man, everything from episode 6 on, I feel like every interaction between any of these characters, any minute detail that is happening, everything has been building the tension in this show. Like, again, we're just watching people do everyday things, and my heart is pounding like really hard during these episodes. Like, it's crazy how intense these episodes are.
Get to the prison.
Oh, the prison, man. Oh, so, okay. Let's talk about the prison.
Okay. Well, basically the last few scenes in the last episode. Anyways, you talk about, you go on, and then we'll get to that.
Okay. So the prison. So we got Cassian Andor. He like gets his cut of the heist, goes off and goes on vacation. Gets picked up by the Imperials for literally just like running away. Yeah. And he's using a different name, so they don't know he's Cassian Andor, which is kind of hilarious, actually. Like it's so funny that there's this giant empirical system, and he just gets lost in it. Like they have no idea where he is.
Facial recognition, like technology they have. That's why I thought
you would think so with all the technology that they have. But anyways, it's kind of, it's ironic, but still, like I enjoy that we have this like weird dichotomy of like he's within the Imperial system, and they still are looking for him and can't find him. So anyways, he gets caught by the Imperials, sentenced to do like manual labor for like, I don't know, what was it, like 6 years or something like that?
It's 6 years because they had just
they upped
doubled sentences because of the rebel stuff that's been happening. So
so they doubled the sentences. He gets 6 years for literally running away from, he doesn't even do anything bad, but because he ran away from them, he gets 6 years in this Empire
like
prison.
No judicial system. It's like you just get sentenced.
No,
and that's it.
Yeah, she's just up there, literally going through the line like 6 years, 10 years, 3 years. Like just sentencing everybody. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Which totally, like I think that's exactly how it probably would go with like local systems intermixing with the Empire and stuff like that. So he gets sent to this prison. Andy Serkis shows up, and this Andy Serkis is probably almost my favorite part of the show. And he's only been in 3 episodes. And
with like, I didn't know he was going to be in the show. And it's like,
I didn't either.
You don't
complete shock.
Like you don't cast him. And maybe they did just anyways, but it's like, you don't cast him if you're not going to like sneak in Snoke somehow, or like he gets captured by the Empire. I don't know.
That's interesting. Because, like, I never even had that thought.
So like, I just find it so, and granted, like, Snoke looks totally different, but it's not like he changed his voice at all to be this character.
Right.
It sounds, anyways, so it'd be interesting to see what they do.
Okay. That's a bonkers comparison. I've never even thought of that one time. So congratulations to you, Mark. You've officially dragged us down into the weeds. I didn't think we were going to get into the weeds.
So like, I'm watching the episode. I didn't expect him to show up, and there he is. So it's like, okay, he's a prisoner already in the Empire. So I just feel like he's got to end up somewhere where he's in the Emperor's control.
Gosh, wouldn't that be so wild if he turns out to be Snoke?
Well, Snoke's a clone. I mean, anyways, so it's like, and that's the other thing, like, the Emperor wanted clones with people with force power. So like, does this guy have force powers? So like, that's, I don't know. It's a lot of weed thinking, but it could be too much. It could just be like, no, we just casted him to be a red herring to everybody to throw him off the scent to what we're actually going to do.
Not thinking about any of that, because that is absolutely not where my mind went.
Well, okay.
Andy Serkis. So Andy Serkis is
He's great.
Yeah, he's fantastic. He's this like, I don't know, what would you call him? He's like a line like leader of like part of this factory in the prison or whatever.
He's basically like the floor manager for what they're doing. Yeah,
basically. And like, so he's like, they're all working out their sentences. He's like, initially when we meet him, he's like, I've got whatever 270 days on my sentence or something like that. 249. Don't screw this up for me.
Yeah.
I'm almost out of here, all that stuff. And my gosh, this guy is he's like, might be one of my favorite actors right now. like he is in everything right now. He started, I don't think he did have some acting roles like prior to the Lord of the Rings and being Gollum and stuff.
Into our vision through Gollum. He motion capped
exactly.
Gollum.
So you know he's got range.
And he's directed Venom 2. I mean,
that's true. He did. I didn't even think of that. That's right.
Venom
he did.
2, not the first one, I believe.
Venom 2. Yep. So he's expanding. He's expanding his roles. But yeah, I mean, like, so he is Kino Loy, this basically floor manager, like you said, of this prison. And so he kind of seems like he's just going to be a cameo, like side character. He basically is like just like managing everything. Cassian Andor comes in, starts working with this table crew, like kind of like standard factory prison stuff. And then we get to the next episode and like stuff is going down in this factory prison, but because they're prisoners, they have no way to communicate that between each other. Like there's a lot of stuff going on, but they know something's going on, but they don't really know what.
And to give more context to that is these like the guards wear these like Nike looking shoes, but we find out that the floor is tungsten. So it's like, because they show up, the guards have no guns, or some guards have guns, but like when we first see the first 3 guards, they don't have any weapons, and then they explain like basically everyone has like a chip implanted in them, and they can like use this control to like shock everybody.
Yeah,
and there's different.
So
levels.
So that's how they control prisoners. They don't have. I mean, you go through these 2 episodes, and there's not many guards around. Pretty much everything is run by like threat of right, like they will shock at certain times
your efficiency, and they can be like table 5, blah blah blah, efficiency is low.
Yeah, right,
low standard.
So every day the top table gets flavor in their food, and the bottom table gets shocked. That's how they run it. You don't want to be the bottom table; you want to get the top table so you can get flavor in your food. And then they go in at night, they have these little cubicles, and the floor is like the tungsten or whatever. If you go out of your cell at night, you die because it fries you.
Andy Serkis' character I think he was the one who makes a reference like, hopefully you don't walk during your sleep.
Yeah, hopefully
I thought of Max right away. I was like,
Max would not last very long.
MacArthur would wake up, and MacArthur would have ended Max pretty quick.
MacArthur would have had a death wish in that prison for sure. Yeah, Max would not have lasted long in that prison at all. Gosh.
So like back to that, like making it like so dehumanizing. Like the part that to me that was just like wow, like just shocking, was when they showered. And it's like all these dudes are just naked, standing like almost shoulder to shoulder, and it's like this mist that covers them.
Right. Right. And there's no talking. Everybody's just standing still, face forward, nothing. Yeah. Like you step out of line, like you get shocked, potentially die. Like, that's the threat that they're working with here. Not that many guards around. No. So, and initially they get to this place and I'm like, man, where is this going? Like, is Cassian literally just going to like live out his sentence here for the rest of this?
He can't if we're only 5 years. Remember that 5 years before stuff. So like
exactly.
So either something happens or he gets busted out.
Mm-hmm. So. Right. So episode 9, the latest episode here, there's rumblings among everybody. We got the lines leaders. They kind of like,
because it was like lower level something happened, right?
Yeah. There's like a lower level apparently that gets the whole floor gets fried, gets killed by the floors because they stepped out of line. We don't know what they did yet, but
and then context on that, we know one of the characters on his floor or like on his team is like does sign language to another person. Like
so that's how they communicate between the floors. But like there's like no real communication that they have to do kind of like sign language to kind of try to figure out what's going on. But so like very limited
because of that. Yeah.
Right. Very limited communication. That's another, like prison tactic. They don't let these prisoners communicate with each other. Only the floor
managers can talk with each other. That's what we learned.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And so Andy Serkis's character knows a decent amount, but he's almost done with his sentence. So he doesn't want to screw anything up.
Remember when he made a comment when Cassian first gets there about like, all his rules. He's like, if you do that, and it's like, if you're gonna lose your mind or something else, keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
And then there's a scene where you're coming up to where it's like you kind of see he's cracking a little bit with everything that's going on.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, and we kind of get like camera shots of like different people in this factory area, especially like Cassian's team that he's working with. And we, in the second, the second episode, which is the 9th episode, we find out that like the old guy that is on their team, like he's like literally having a stroke while they're like working during the day. So they're trying to like keep working as this dude like can't even stand up, because they don't want to get fried, because this guy's probably going to die if they get fried. Right. So they're like trying to keep him alive, trying to keep themselves like going. And again, it comes back to the intensity in the show. Like they're literally in a factory making machine parts of some kind, which we have no clue what they are. But like, this is all they're doing. And this is so intense. Like my heart is pounding. I don't even know what the heck is going on in this show. And it's like, it's just crazy to think that, again, no lightsabers, no Force, no Sith, no Jedi, no blasters even. Like we haven't even really had much of fight. We had a fight like scene in episode 6 when they were doing the heist.
Well, and
but like
the scene where they invaded that town and like shot up a bunch of people.
Yeah, true. Okay, yeah. So we have had a couple like fight scenes, and
not like super intense where both parties are really shooting at each other, except for the heist
exactly.
Scene,
but like it's bit, just it's crazy that we have this show that is so good and engaging outside of Star Wars. Like again, I mentioned it before, but this might, by the end of this show, it might be my favorite show of 2022. It might make my Stan Lee's list. Like it's up there. It's definitely in the top 6. We'll see where it lands by the end of the show. But like, if you take away all of the Star Wars elements of this, which there aren't that many Star Wars elements of this. This is a good show. Mm-hmm. Can you do the same to Obi-Wan? I don't know if that's true, because granted,
expectation.
Right. There's a lot of expectation.
Here's a line. There's a lot of versus Andor. You basically, it's a free for all play of how you want to tell the story. Right.
And granted, again, absolutely loved Obi-Wan. Like this is not a diss on Obi-Wan, but they did a lot of fan service in that show. And that was part of the reason why they did that show, because that's what the fans wanted. And I was one of the ones that wanted that. So I'm not going to complain about getting what we wanted. But this show, Andor, is not relying on fan service. It's not relying on the Star Wars elements to make the show good.
Main player from the
exactly.
Series.
It's using just literally storyline and like intense cinematography, like literally just basic like filming and show like making stuff to make this show good. And it fits so perfectly in the Star Wars universe that like, how can I not be 100% all in on this?
And not pussyfooting around how serious everything is.
Right.
Going back to what we talked about before, where it's like people will get killed, people will get hurt.
Yeah, exactly.
Like people have to make decisions. They're going to be the betterment for the group versus an individual, which we get at the end of this episode 9. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. And like, this is no original like Star Wars trilogy where, somebody gets hit with a big stick and they go flying off and scream and, it's like comedic, in a sense, like it's not meant to be comedic, but it's still funny type of thing. Like this is not that. Like this is gritty, intense. Like I am just on
space Western.
Yeah, it's a space Western. And I've said this actually to my brother when I was talking about it. I was like, this almost feels more like a sci-fi show in general than a Star Wars show. Like it fits perfectly in the Star Wars universe. So don't take that as like a negative, but like
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, like it's like you could watch this as somebody who's never ever seen anything of Star Wars and still like be like, wow, this is this is a pretty decent show. Like, I seriously think somebody who's never seen one iota of Star Wars could watch this and still enjoy this show.
I would have to go back and rewatch because like I kind of agree with you on that. Because I'm trying to think, like, do they kind of go off the top, like in the first few episodes, how like seriously like bad the Empire is? Because like that's the overarching thing. Like as fans, we know how bad they are. So like that kind of like that's a character in itself. Of
and
the
that's
show
that's
like,
probably right. Right.
So, like,
that's something
right,
that
like,
we probably could have missed because we're huge Star Wars fans. So like we just take all of that for granted. We already know all that stuff.
I would agree with you that I think I would say a person that doesn't know anything about Star Wars could watch a show and be like, this is a good show.
Yeah.
So
whereas
not saying I already say it's a good show no matter what.
Right.
But like they would say, this is really good without having the fandom lore behind it.
Yeah. Absolutely. So yeah, again, I think this is fantastic. And then let's cap it off because I think this last final scene in episode 9 has been the best scene in the entire show. So, I mean, I mentioned this old guy on their team basically is having a stroke. They call the medical team on him. He ends up dying, but Cassian is in there with Andy Serkis's character. And basically, the med guy comes and he knows a little bit more information about everything that's happening in the prison. And he's has like a very somber vibe to him too. Yeah, right. And he's like ticked. Like he's like, this is not what I want to be doing right now. Basically, is the vibe you kind of get from him. He's also a prisoner because he was wearing that white. Right, and he doesn't have shoes on, right? If I'm correct, like I don't think the med guy has shoes on. So I'm assuming they must be prisoners who are medical people. That like that's their assignment is. Right. Yep. So that's part of the prison as well. So he also reports to all the different areas of the factory prison. He knows some information. So Cassian this whole time has been like, there's something going on. Like we need to know, like he's pressing Andy Serkis's character. And up until this point, Kino is Andy Serkis's character. I want to say that so I don't keep saying Andy Serkis's character. Kino. So he has been like pretty resistive to like what Cassian is kind of putting off. Like he's like, no, I don't want to mess things up. Like I'm out of here. 200 plus days out of the way. And be out. Yeah. I want to just get out of here. Just put my head down, do my work, get out of here. So don't screw this up. Like that's the attitude he's taken. And then you just see something change because the med guy basically informs them that like the reason there was a big fry of a whole section of prisoners is because one of the new guys that came to the floor just got released from a different section of that floor specifically. So there's a little bit of context that we probably missed here, but basically what's happening is they're taking the prisoners that get off of their sentence and literally just putting them in a different section of the prison. Like they're not releasing the prisoners. So Andy Serkis hears that and he's like, okay, I'm never getting out of here. So you finally see that switch in his mind. And there's this scene that is just, oh man, like one of the best scenes I've ever had. Andy Serkis is kind of processing all of this in this like tunnel thing with all these prisoners and he's trying to get them in line. But at the same time, he's trying to process this and like figure out what he's got to do. And I don't think there's ever been a scene in TV history where you can sense anxiety more that's the part than him in that scene. The whole like keep it to yourself, you're gonna lose your mind. Right. And like he's cracking there. He's getting that like he's that cracking exactly. Like, we actually need to do something to get out of this. Yeah. So he's like all of a sudden he's barking out orders to guys like we don't know anything, like calm down, like we'll get more information later. And then like kind of under his breath, he's like, if we even like get out of this, like if something is even there to be found. I forget the line that he actually says, but he like under his breath, he's like losing it, like you said. And it's just the fact that he is able to keep it together on the outside, but like I'm looking at his eyes and you can see that he's freaking out inside his head. And that was just incredible acting by Andy Serkis. again, probably my favorite part of this show so far. Unfortunately, I feel like he's going to be a guy that's going to die. I think he's going to like sacrifice himself for like some of the prisoners or something like that.
Or be taken by the Empire to do cloning, whatever.
Oh, yeah, maybe that. I don't know. Again, that's something that absolutely did not cross my mind until
DNA
you said
to
that.
Become Snoke or something. I don't know.
And so, yeah, for those of you guys who don't know, Andy Serkis like plays Snoke, like the voice of Snoke, and does like the CGI mocap. Yeah, exactly. So I did not even put that together, Mark. So kudos
and that's the thing.
you.
Like, did the people who cast it like not think of it, or like because that to me,
I'm assuming they
you're
knew.
In Star Wars world, like why do that if like there's not going to be a connection? Or
I'm not mad about it because like
it's a red herring to make people like
right.
pontificate on that stuff, and
it's a red herring for you to pontificate on because again, I never even thought of that. But yeah, I mean, like, I'm not mad about it because again, he's been one of the best parts of the show to me in just the very short period of time that he's been here. So definitely not mad about it. I don't even know if we gave our ratings yet, but I'm
Andor 6 out of 6.
It's a 6 out of 6. I can't say many more great things about this show. Like, it's just, wow. It's incredible.
When I do my review for the Stanleys, I will be surprised if this isn't in my top 6. So
top 6. Yeah. Right. Honestly, like, man, dude, I'm telling you, this is a top 3 candidate as of right now. And it could be number 1 by the time this show is over. If they nail that. And there is nothing in this show. Like, I don't know if you got this sense, Mark, but like in all of those Marvel miniseries, I was almost probably every single one, I was questioning how they're going to stick the landing. And I was like, man, how are they going to put all this together in the 3 episodes, 2 episodes, 1 episode that they have left? I don't know how they can do that and make everybody completely satisfied with this ending. I do not feel that at all with this show. I think that
would be in line with Andor, though, if they do that, where it's just like you're left with like, oh, okay, this sucks, as in like,
true,
it, like, sucks the situation they're left in, because like that's kind of like the no one kind of gets a good hand dealt to them in this show. So yeah, that's how it should end. But it probably ends with him getting out of the prison.
Right.
I would imagine.
Right. But like I'm saying, like I don't have any doubt with how they're going to end this season because of what I've seen so far. Yeah. So like not the characters themselves.
Unlike the Marvel shows where you're like, I don't know if they're going to be able to do it, but right. You're saying they're going to do it right here.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I have zero doubt that they're going to nail the ending in the show because of how good the show has been. I couldn't say that about any of the Marvel shows. I don't think any of them. Like WandaVision was probably the one that I thought I was the most confident about. And then it didn't end the way that any of us liked. So that was it. After that, I lost all confidence in all of my Marvel shows. But yeah, man, I absolutely love Andor. If you you better have like watched all of Andor up until this point if you're still listening, because I was gonna say if you haven't checked this out, you need to. People are sleeping on the show, man. I think now it's definitely starting to get a little bit more steam online, but like up until episode 6 or 7, nobody was talking about this.
I'm just
absolutely nobody.
That I have you guys who are watching this, so I'm not like out here advocating for you guys to watch it like I was with
with literally every other show on Apple TV.
And then you guys pick it up like a few weeks later when everyone's talking about it. It's like, oh god, I started watching Andor. It's amazing. It's like I've been saying that for a while.
I've been saying that for a while.
That's not the case. Where like you guys have watched it and we like
side
literally
note,
across the board like love that show or love Andor.
Side note: For All Mankind is probably also going to be on my top 6.
Yeah.
Fantastic show. That's your Mark plug.
And
go watch
the
For All Mankind.
Yeah, go watch it. The Insight. Isaac even teased that he might not have a Marvel show in his top 6 for Stanley. So like I'm interested what the other shows are going to be.
I know, guys. It's going to be a weird, wild top 6 for this year for the Stan Lee's TV shows, because there have been so many good shows out this year.
Yeah, this year has just been like bangers for content.
Yeah,
so
just one after the other, bangers. So there might be one that sneaks in. So we'll see. But there's been so many good shows. Yeah. So again, there may not be a Marvel show from 2022 in my top 6 Stan Lee awards at the end of the year. It may not happen. I'm going to leave it at that. It's a little tease for you guys to come back and watch the Stan Lees at the end of the year. Little tease. Well, Mark, I think we've really talked up Andor quite a bit in this episode. Is there anything that we missed that you want to talk about? I'm trying to think of any storylines that we missed. Cyril is a creep, dude. That dude is... I don't know if we've had a creepier character in Star Wars up until this point.
It'll be interesting to see, because of that conversation with Skarsgård, I forget his character's name, and Saul Guerrero.
Yeah.
Like, how does Saul become more involved in these next 3 episodes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so
that'll be interesting. Skarsgård is another one we didn't talk about.
He eventually joins the rebellion, if I'm remembering this right, and then leaves it by the time we get to Rogue One. He factions off again because he's too much. Because that was one thing I loved with that interaction. How he basically talks about how there's all these different types of groups in the galaxy, where he's like, it's gonna be hard to get them all combined to form a rebellion. And I was like, the one that sticks out to me is the human cultist. What is that?
What is that? What is that?
So yeah,
dude. Yeah. So okay, that's a great point. Saw Gerrera is one of those little tidbits in Star Wars that is just so good. Like, they just put him, a little piece of him, in like so much Star Wars media that like I absolutely love every time he makes an appearance. It's just fantastic. When he showed up in Jedi Fallen Order, I was like, oh yes, please give me more. I can't wait for the sequel to that, by the way, as well. That's gonna be awesome. But yeah, that like there's like a little chapter where he was like leading like a rebel battle, and it was just like, this is awesome. I absolutely love this. Him just showing up in Solo, in Clone Wars. Rebels? Did he show up in Rebels? Or was it Clone Wars?
I think he
showed up in one of them.
Dead by Rebels,
you're probably right. Yeah, you're probably right. So it would have been Clone Wars. Yeah, because we saw early Saw Gerrera in Clone Wars.
He dies in Rogue One.
Yeah, that's right.
Or at least, like, we assume he dies.
Yeah. But yeah, we saw like early Saw Gerrera in Clone Wars. Like, this is like way before he was like, he was still doing Saw Gerrera things, but like the rebellion was not even a twinkle in anybody's eye at that point. He was like still a young man in Rebels when we saw him. Young boy. Yeah. But that's an awesome piece. Yeah. It'll be so interesting to see where they go. Like, maybe we get a Saw Gerrera, like Tales of the Jedi short. Whew.
Yeah,
I'd be into it. Or just a short explaining all of those factions that he said.
I kind of want that. I was like, what did
a human cultist short?
Like, yeah.
Oh man. Oh, so good. Well, guys, if you have any comments on Tales of the Jedi or Andor, you can join the Infinity Bros universe by joining our Discord server, and you can chat with us there. You can go to theinfinitybros.com, check out all of our social media sites, and leave us a comment or email us at infinitybros, or let's see, what is it again? infinitybrospodcast@gmail.com. Yeah, that's what it is. But yeah, we'd love to hear your feedback and what you guys are thinking about these incredible pieces of art from Star Wars and Disney. Thanks, Mark, for joining me today. It's been a blast.
To be here.
I'm always glad to get
for the podcast.
Always glad to get a chat with old Reliable and go dive into the weeds with you. There was I literally, that thought never entered my mind that like Andy Serkis could have something to do with Snoke until you just said that.
That's why they pay me.
you never know what you're going to get when you listen to a podcast with Mark Jones on it. And thank you, Infinity Bros Universe. Wherever you're listening, however you're listening, thank you so much for making us a part of your podcast experience. We love you 3000. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Infinity Bros podcast. You can find the Infinity Bros on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at the Infinity Bros. Feel free to send listener feedback via email at infinitybrospodcast@gmail.com.